up, guys? Thanks so much for clicking on the video. My name is Leah, and let's recap and review Real Housewives of Potomac. This is season 8, episode 20, part 2 of the reunion. So let's get into it. Y'all know sometimes before we get into it, we get a little spicy, just a little. And I only got one spicy thing I want to talk to y'all today about. So this is coming from Dorinda Deadly, which is a blog page on Twitter. And they're saying apparently, like the caption says, apparently this is the returning cast for season 9, hashtag RHOP. And it's Karen, Gizelle, what's her name? Ashley, Mia, and Nneka. And you know, the girlies was hot. So they were like, okay, so that means we don't get Wendy. Now, already tell y'all this all the time. I find Wendy to be hella corny. So I can kind of take or leave her. But this kind of makes sense. And the reason why I say that is with Candiace not being there, who does Wendy truly have? Like, Ashley is wishy-washy as hell with Wendy. And if I was Wendy, I wouldn't trust Ashley. Would never trust Ashley. And then her and Mia kind of have like a wishy-washy relationship at times. Like, you can tell that Mia likes Wendy and vice versa, but there's tension there. So it just wouldn't work. Like, Wendy would definitely be on an island by herself. The only way it would work next season is if they bring on 2 people that are Wendy's friends, that she can be clicked up with or cool with. Because Karen, I wouldn't even trust Karen. Karen, to me, showed her hand this reunion where I was like, yeah, you can't be trusted either. And I've never really trusted Karen. I feel like Karen likes to keep up appearances because she likes to be liked by the fandom. And at times I rock with Karen, but Karen is loyal to the other side of the couch, i.e. Gizelle, because they came in together. So, I mean, if Wendy's not there, it makes sense, but I don't know how much sense this makes for, like, the fandom or for people watching the show. Like, a lot of people, i.e. Black people, I don't think are going to be interested in it because a lot of them are saying after this part 2, they don't want to watch the show anymore because they was like, it's clear who they want to be the villain of the show. And so I'm just kind of like, yeah, but this is all allegedly. It's not like they don't have any confirmed, and I don't even think they got the contracts back yet. But I find this to be interesting because this is reminiscing of the reboot that they did for Miami, because Miami brought back Marisol, Alexia, Lisa, Larsa, and Adriana. And that was 5 people. And this is 5 girls. And then they added in 2 new girls and then 1 friend of the show. So 3 new girls and 1 friend of the show. So 4 new girls. Maybe they'll do that with Kiarna. Now, if Kiarna's there with Wendy, then yeah, I think it would work. But I don't know what they about to do with all of this. I know they over there frustrated and busted and disgusted because a lot of people said after this they tapping out. I don't know about myself because I will say that and then watch it, so I'm not even going to say that. If the trailer looks interesting, I might check it out. But let's get into this review. So the episode opens up where it left off, and we're at Mia's package, and they're just, it's a list because I took notes, but they start off with the whole, like, is Jeremiah Ink's son or Gordon's son? I saw some people online being confused, thinking that they were talking about the oldest son. The oldest son, that Mia has 3 children. The oldest son, I think it was from her previous marriage that she had before she got married to G. And then the 2 youngest children she had with G. And the middle child, which is the young boy, is Jeremiah. So Mia's like, no, I got an IUI. I know my body. And Gordon is Jeremiah's father. And they were like, well, Andy's like, well, why does Ink think that way? Ashley's like, still he thinks that's his kid. And Candiace is like, you see Ashley and Candiace having a conversation where they're like, they have the same face. And Candiace is like, yeah, the same face. And then Ashley says, oh, and Jeremiah has Gordon's like underbite and everything. So pretty much, Mia ends up saying that there was like overlapping. Like Candiace does, like there was overlapping. She was like, yeah, we had like an affair. And then you can see Karen is visibly uncomfortable having this conversation and she wished the ladies would get off of it. So she pretty much tells Andy and everybody, like, we need to dead this because this is a child. He's going to be able to see this. I don't think this is an appropriate conversation. And so they end the conversation. Karen shuts it down, which, I mean, if you're going to be a matriarch, do what you do. So then I think Andy asked, so is this the rapper you were talking about, Karen? And Karen was like, yeah. And then Mia's like, he's not a rapper. He's like a radio personality. And Karen said, rapper, DJ, radio personality, same thing. I said, yeah, Karen, same thing. Same thing. Girl, you messing with a man that's not your husband. Same thing. So then Mia asked Karen, when did you find out about that? And I guess Karen said after her grand dame or la dame reunion, our family reunion, I guess that's where like she heard through the grapevines that Mia and this guy got back together or they reconnected. And Mia was saying not around that time, but like, yeah, it was I don't know, sometime around there. Then they bring up Robin, where I think Andy was like, well, or it was a viewer question, whoever, somebody was like, well, do you think that because like shouldn't Mia be receiving the same treatment that Robin got from everybody about hiding her relationship? And I have to give Mia credit because Mia clocked and was like, me and her are not the same, because I was honest. I was in that salt cave with Robin and I told her we were filing for a divorce, or I was considering filing for a divorce. There's a difference between her and me. And I said, you right. You right. I mean, here's the thing. Mia be lying. I told y'all that lady is infected with diabetes, but I don't know if Mia is lying or if she's telling stories out of order, or if she, because Mia gives me the type of person that will tell you something, hold on to the context, and then we'll be like 2 years down the road, and then she want to give you all of this word vomit, and you like, well, why didn't you tell me that 2 years ago? That would explain all of this. So I feel like Mia is telling her story out of order and only picking like salacious parts about it and possibly like embellishing them. And then now that like she's tired of how people have perceived her, because she really doesn't like being called a gold digger, but it's like you came on the stage like that, sis. But now she's trying to like clean it up. So, like I said, she said, we not the same. Gizelle brings up, like, are you leaving Gordon for financial reasons? Because when they did the flashback, Gizelle was like, he looked really angry. And Mia was like, no. And then Robin chimes in about, like, maybe it's, like, his age. And Mia was like, no, everything is just mixed together. She was like, like, the way he's been coming at me has been a lot. She was like, it's on top of the, him waking me up at 4 a.m. to have a business meeting. And then he's draining my bank accounts and all of that. And some people I've seen online have been speculating that maybe G is suffering from like some cognitive disorder, like a liken to like dementia. I hope not. I hope not. But like he is in his 70s. And so they were like, because some people are like, maybe that might be like to explain why he's been acting so erratically and been aggressive or like, you know, doing things to her. But we don't know because they haven't said what the issue is. I hope it's not that or his cancer came back. But hey, we'll know next part 3. So then they bring up about NECA chimes in and was like, I mean, NECA talked a lot well, not a lot, but she talked way more than the first part. She was like, well, Mia, has he gone to therapy? And she was like, he's in therapy now. So then they talk about her inheritance. And Mia was talking about how like, and they talk about like her stripper inheritance. She says that 3 of her grandparents passed away around the same time and she came into some money, pretty much somebody's life insurance policy. And since she had that, she was doing really good. She then said that Gordon was pretty much bankrupt when they married each other, and that lavish wedding that they had, he was pretty much coming out of like a deficit to orchestrate that, which I feel like is weird because I'm like, how, like, you said that man was dropping 10 racks. I don't know nobody that's bankrupt just dropping 10 racks. They want to hold on to that money. So I don't know. She could be telling the truth, but she could be lying. We don't know. Gosh. So then they bring up her, sorry, y'all. They bring up her, I guess a blog post where they say Mia is getting sued for her rent. And Mia was like, yeah, but the reason why we're getting sued is Gordon didn't want to leave the apartment that we saw on the show. And she left and took her kids with her and Gordon stayed in it. And she said, I paid my part of the apartment. He need to pay his and I'm not doing that. And I don't blame her. So then they asked like, when is she going to get a divorce or when's the earliest she can get a divorce? And she said she signed an affidavit and that won't be until June when they can get a divorce, because I guess they can't get a divorce because I guess her lawyers are saying and his lawyers are saying it would look better if you guys were together to sell your company versus being broken apart. That might scare people like y'all trying to split assets and all of that stuff. So then she gets on Wendy and Candiace because No, Mia points out that everybody on the stage except Wendy and Candiace reached out to her. Wendy ends up saying, like, girl, the last time around this time this happened, like, we were like here, you assaulted me. And she was like, your husband contacted our husbands in a group chat and called you everything but a child of God, sis. And the fact that we didn't repeat it, I said, I think it shows that we love and respect you. And Candiace said the same thing. She ended up being like, I just didn't want to be involved. And I feel like some people are mad about that because Andy was like, well, just because you don't want to be involved doesn't mean you can't shoot somebody a text. And then Mia said it made me feel like we weren't friends. And I'm like, y'all not really friends. Y'all are co-workers. Granted, the gesture would have been nice, but when Mia lost me, when she was like, we're a sisterhood and we're not that heartless, a couple of y'all on that stage are heartless, and this is not a sisterhood, and the sisterhood only is relegated to certain people on that stage that can be a part of it. I can get where Mia's coming from in the sense of being like, we don't have no beef. I didn't beef with y'all this whole entire season. Why would you not reach out? But I'm also the type of person that if I don't feel compelled to do something, I don't do it. I deal with me. I'm just talking about me. I deal with anxiety and I'm an overthinker. And sometimes I have reached out to people, and then when I don't get the response I'm looking for, or when it's not appreciated, then I overthink and I get mad at myself because it's like, why did you even do that? And so so I've learned with myself that I only reach out when I feel compelled to, or when I feel like, how the old people say, when the spirit moved me. When it moves me to reach out, I will reach out, and then I really don't care about the response I give you. It's like, okay, I reached out to make sure you were okay, or to let you know that I was thinking of you, and I move on, versus me feeling forced trying to put on for somebody. So I do understand people feeling like Wendy's spiel was a cop-out, because you hear Robin under her breath saying, well, they apologized, and then Gizelle saying they were bumping coochies, and then Karen being like, well, he called me, but I didn't pick up. And I was just kind of like, yeah, just because somebody apologizes doesn't mean y'all cool. And I mean, the gesture would have been nice, but they just should have been like, I think Wendy would have done better if she just would have did Candiace. Yeah, I own the fact that I didn't reach out to you, and I could have. My bad. And we move on. But I don't think a sisterhood exists on this stage, because it's not a limit, but it's like certain people can't opt into the hood. So what's the point of it being a sisterhood? So then they talk about who Ink's favorite is and who the girls he has met. And Mia says Wendy is his favorite, and then Wendy gets all happy, talking about they can double date. They find out that Mia is living in an apartment in DC. It's 1,100 square feet, her and the kids. And then G lives in an apartment in Charlotte, North Carolina, but he's going to move across the street from Mia in a condo. And then Robin wants to chime in, being like, she's confused because when they last hung out, I guess they were saying Mia was living in Atlanta and going back and forth from Atlanta to Charlotte, and now they're moving here. And then Mia never answered Robin's question. She just said, baby, I'm bi-coastal. Like, girl, I do what I do. I'm syndicated, baby. I go wherever I need to go. Next stop might be Dallas. And that is low-key why Mia is a good reality, because she know reality star, especially with these women, is because she's quick with it. Does it make sense when she talks? Not really, but she's quick, and most of them can't handle that. Honestly, they can't. They really can't. Now, I will say Wendy's about face, when she heard that Ink thought she was her favorite, I was like, yeah, girl, that's why people think you corny and fake, because you was just telling her about how, like, she assaulted you and you ain't think y'all was that close to do that. And now, because her man say y'all cool, like he think you the best out of the group, now you talking about going on a double date. You be losing people, Wendy. You be losing them. We see this scene of Candiace and Chris. They're taking I think a 10 or 15 minute break. They're retouching up Candiace's makeup. And Chris is pretty much saying, like, I want to get this reunion over with. I want to, be past whatever happened between me and Gizelle. I just really wanted to go away. And then Candiace is kind of like, this stuff just doesn't go away. And Chris says, yeah, it doesn't, but I just want it to go away. So then we get back on stage. They do Gizelle's package. They talk about her dad, talk about her daughter, Grace, going to college. They also talk about her and Jason, and then they show that clip of Wendy pretty much saying, like, she ain't really got much for Gizelle and her dad because they was making fun of her mom when they was in Texas. So when they get back to the stage, Gizelle is like, before we even say anything, Andy, I ain't never said nothing about your mom, Wendy. That's a bold-faced lie. And Wendy was like, you called my mom evil. And Gizelle is like, I never said anything bad about your mom. Like, I didn't know your mom was in the hospital. That, like, Gizelle was really adamant that she ain't say nothing bad. But I'm like, Gizelle, you did call that lady evil. And I'm surprised they didn't roll that footage, but we gonna roll it here because Gizelle did call that lady evil.
I don't know what my mama doing. No, you know exactly what your mother's doing. And Eddie, you know exactly what Wendy is doing. They all working together for evil. Oh, not.
So you did say that lady was working, they were all working together for evil. And I can get, like, the thing is, like, I can see both people's point of views. I can see Wendy's point of view and I can see Gizelle's point of view. One, you call my mama evil. I'd have been like, I don't care what happened to you and yours because you being disrespectful to my mom. And the way I love my mom, and I'm talking about Leah, the way I love my mom, it's fuck you and yours over here. You talk bad about her. I'm just saying. I'm just saying. I don't. That's one of. I got a couple of people I don't play about, and that's one lady I don't play about. So it's whatever. It's whatever. So I can understand Wendy being like, yeah, I ain't got much for her, but I can also see Gizelle being like, well, I didn't know your mom was in the hospital. I also didn't speak ill about her situation in the hospital. Honestly, I wish Wendy would have took the route of what Candiace said, where she was just like, I don't like Gizelle, but I wish her daddy a speedy recovery and we keep it pushing. Because they don't like you, Wendy. Production is already working against you. Don't give them too much. And that's what you do. You gave it to them. So they go back and forth and then pretty much saying that, like, we need to respect each other's families. And then Andy kind of tried to chime in and be like, well, you did call her mom evil, which is messed up. And, like, what you want from the lady, girl? So Gizelle, what's it called? Oh, Gizelle started talking about her dad. She gets visibly emotional. Her and Karen start holding hands as she starts crying. We find out that they had like a huge party. He didn't really want a funeral for his funeral. He wanted a big party, so it looked like they had a good time, like a second line, and everybody. And Gizelle was like, I looked up with fathers. He was a wonderful father. He was even the one that told her to do the show. Like, she wasn't going to do the TV show. Everyone told her not to, and he told her to. I said, girl, you might have not wanted to listen to your daddy, because had you not done this show, I don't think people would have thought you was an evil old lady. He thought she was amazing, which your daddy should. She also talks about how everybody rallied behind her, and excluding, Wendy and Candiace, which I wouldn't reach out to Gizelle. You don't like me, I don't like you. She talks about Karen being there for her. And then as Gizelle starts to get emotional, Candiace starts crying. And Andy's like, Candiace, you're getting very emotional. Like, what's going on? And Candiace is not trying to talk. Mia's like, she cry when the wind blows. And then Gizelle gets irritated, like Candiace was trying to take the moment from her. And she just says, I feel for her. And then I saw people online being like, Candiace was trying to be the center of attention. No, she was being empathetic towards her. And the fact that Gizelle couldn't see that, you have issues, lady. And it goes back to like this clip somebody posted about Gizelle lacking an empathy chip or a sensitivity chip.
Really have to be empathetic to how people feel was a light bulb.
Wow. So you really didn't think that you were a mean lady?
No. I just felt like everybody was missing a sensitivity chip.
How many of you think therapy has changed Gizelle?
For like 5 minutes? It did, yes. Thank you. Can I get like 7 minutes? Jeez.
Karen, is the shade train still running on time?
Oh, it is. It is. It's reckless. I don't think there's any hope for you unless you make a conscious decision to change that which is bad about you. I think the way that I am has served me quite well. Okay. You really have to be.
Like, are you not still? You need to still be in therapy, because the fact that she cried and that irritated you, that's how you know you really hate her. Because you could even thank her for her emotions, or being like, I receive. Because my thing is, look, I don't go up for Dr. Nicole on Real Housewives of Miami. I do not. There's something about her that I just don't vibe with. But when she spoke about her father and she got visibly emotional, I was over here crying. Like, I was over here in tears. And I was just happy that her and her dad had left on a good, like they were in a better relationship before he transitioned. Same with Erica Jane. Erica get on my nerves, but I was watching the first episode of Bet It All on Blonde, and her dog is dying. Girl, I was over here tearing up about that too, because I know what it feels like to lose a pet that you've had for so long, and how that's like losing a piece of you. Like, it's just like the fact that she couldn't even see that, that's how you know she really don't like Candiace. Like, she legitimately can't stand that girl, because I would have not been that turned off by her crying. I would have taken it as like, okay, wow, like, even though I laughed in your face, you still care about me. Because that's the thing. Candiace is way different than me. And I'm a Capricorn. If I shut my feelings off on you, I don't care. And I can be sensitive. The older I have gotten, the more I be crying like that about stuff. I will cry when I see other people cry. But legit, if I have made it in my brain that I do not rock with you, I legit don't care. So the fact, like, the moment Gizelle would have laughed in my face, emotions would have been like, they would have sucked up. You know what I'm saying? So I just feel like the fact that she couldn't just receive that, you need to be in therapy. You need to be in therapy. So then they get on the Candiace and Wendy making faces. And it was funny because Karen thought Candiace was going to apologize again to Gizelle. And Karen was like, I don't police everybody's faces. We all make faces when we don't like each other. And then Giselle's like, but my children. Okay, but your children. See, that's the thing, Gizelle. You can't be nasty and then expect people to care about what you got going on with you and yours. That's the part that I can't rock with. If you're going to be mean, if you're going to be nasty, if you're going to be like the HBIC, if you're going to reign supreme, then I'm going to need you to be more hardcore than that. I'm gonna need you, because that's the thing. Giselle acts like she's not sensitive, but she is, because anytime somebody strikes a nerve with her, she hates them all of a sudden. If they get the best of her, it's I'm done. But she the HBIC. The girls I think are HBICs don't let nothing faze them. But that's just me. So Candiace, like the Candiace and Wendy's faces. I was with Candiace. Gizelle weaponizes her children. They only bring Giselle's children around when when the network is trying to make us feel endearing towards Gizelle. And then the whole situation about them making faces at the table, it wasn't that deep. It was not. If they weren't mean mugging you while you were talking about your children, then why are you that pressed if you don't like them? I don't get it, lady. I don't. So then Wendy says, I even congratulated you and asked, like, is she going to be an AKA? And then that's where I'm like, production started playing games, because I know they probably had that footage. And I will stand by this. Production has created an environment where you have made it so toxic that people want to see Gizelle and Robin burn, because y'all won't hold them accountable. Y'all won't be fair. So people want some type of justice, so they'll take it, or some accountability, so they'll take it to the extreme online. Like, the fact that I know for a fact that y'all probably have that footage, and Candiace was like, yeah, y'all have it, like, roll it. And then Andy was like, they're saying they don't have it. That's a lie. That is and it's just like, because y'all barely wanted to air the footage of Gizelle saying that she didn't say Chris made her go in there. Then you didn't want to show the footage of her calling Wendy's mom evil. If you're going to make somebody give someone like the angel edit and the other two the villain edit, you need to be better at it, because y'all suck at it. Y'all also, I feel like y'all forget that we've all been watching reality TV since like the early 2000s. So we know when production is playing games and trying to set somebody up as like this angelic figure, y'all suck at your jobs. You suck. Do better, please. So then they bring up Gizelle and Jason. I don't care. We talked about it in Spicy Corner. He was kissing up on some white girl. Okay, we already know their situation wasn't that deep. I don't even know why that was even a segment. Okay, we saw Jason for 2 episodes and he was out. And then Mia lets the cat out the bag that Gizelle got a man. She messing with some athlete, and that's it. And she was kind of in her feelings, but I feel like, Gizelle, you're on reality TV. Show your reality, sis. If you banging a football player, a basketball player, a soccer player, whoever, baseball girl, because that's where the money at. Get you a baseball player. They be on the off seasons. Their off season is a lot longer, and they make the most money sitting on a bench. Get you a baseball player, girl. But why, like, I don't get why y'all go up for her. She's so mediocre. She doesn't share her life, and what we do get from Gizelle is not a lot. Next season, once them other twins, when the twins leave, what is Gizelle going to have? Like, let's be honest, because that's the only thing people find likable about Gizelle is her being a mom. But once them kids is gone, y'all like it's gonna be the Lisa Rinna effect. Because after Lisa Rinna no longer had scenes with her family, everybody hated her because they saw how much of a bitch she was. This probably what's gonna happen to Gizelle. But I digress. Get on Candiace's segment, and we find out that the breast, like the lump that was in her breast, actually got smaller to the point where they didn't have to do a biopsy. We found out that her tour was actually 9 cities, and one of the largest venues that she performed at was at the Fillmore, that was like 1,200 seating, which is nothing to like scoff at. Like, if you're a new artist and you can fill that out, that means you actually have a pretty decent reach of like who is very interested in your music. They then question her about the whole Drew Sidora situation, and Candiace pretty much says, we do business differently. Like, if I know somebody, I reach out to them before I reach out to anybody else. So what it gave me is that either Drew reached out to somebody before she came to Candiace, or it was something shady. And I actually believe Candiace, mainly because Drew always gives me stunts and shows, her and Ralph. You can never figure out, like, it always feels like they're playing off of a script. And then also, I don't go up for Portia, don't really even like Portia like that. But seeing Drew in that studio with Dennis, I said, girl, what you doing? What you doing in there with Dennis? So then Andy brings up Katy Perry and Taylor Swift and Bad Blood. Now, I knew Bad Blood was about Katy Perry, but I didn't know that was like they had beef over a dancer. That's about the only song that I like from Taylor Swift. Baby, now we got that's about the only Taylor Swift song I goes up for. And then they get on the Michael lawsuit. Girl, could you like, I had the screenshots of Ashley's face when they get to the lawsuit about Michael, and she did this. She was like she was irritated. Like she was irritated that her man lost. And I'm like, girl, that's why I don't understand why Candiace wants to be friends with Ashley, because it would never. I could never, you know what I mean? Then a viewer question was asked where they were like, Ashley, why you playing like you didn't know what the situation between the defamation lawsuit between Michael and Candiace was. You probably was banking on her losing so you could use that money for your family. And Ashley said, hold up. I'm going to clear this up right now. And I said, girl, my thing is, and Candiace was like, I don't believe she had anything to do with it. But my mama, on the other hand, and I agree with Mama Dot. Like, girl, I would believe that lady had something to do with it. She's still sucking on that man's you know what and rubbing his musty feet. She knows something. And I don't get why Candiace wants to be friends with Ashley. I don't know if she just thought that her and Ashley have so much in common because they're from the pageant world. But if you look at y'all lives are totally different. One, your mama is a lot, Candiace. Mama Dot is a lot, but she care enough about you and your sister that she made the right decisions to make sure her kids were financially stable. On top of that, your daddy is still in your life. Ashley's mama chose the man over her and had them living underneath underneath a bridge in a tent. Then on top of that, you got her daddy not even wanting to be around her, acknowledging her presence. Not her fault, but it's still messed up. Then you married Chris, a man that you actually had feelings for and loved and didn't need to marry for survival. She had to marry a wet, pasty demon of a man to make sure she ain't end up on the streets like her mama. Your lives are not the same. And a lot of people go back to when last season when Ashley was up in Candiace's house just admiring it, and people was like, you could tell that Ashley was pressed that Candiace's house was so nice. And the funny thing about it is Ashley got played by Michael, because that house that she's living in that's like $2 million in Arlington, that's like down the street from his the apartment building or the condo building they were living in. Girl, you got played. Because I promise you, if you were farther out, like Fairfax, Northern Virginia, hell, even where I grew up in Haymarket, Virginia, Gainesville area. People don't be knowing where Haymarket is, so I just say Gainesville. But like, my parents, like my family home was way bigger than Ashley's. And that thing, I think when my parents bought it, That was some time ago. But when my parents bought that home, it was maybe like my dad. It was nice. And we had like 5 bedrooms, a basement. We had a lot of land. Like, if we wanted to, we could have put a pool back there. Like, the farther out you go in Virginia, the more you get more bang for your buck. But I was like, girl, you could go to Woodbridge or Dumfries. Or if anything, if you didn't want to, but you didn't have to be where you are now. He got you there because he paying for it, and he playing in your face because that look like an Airbnb. Or maybe you playing in our faces, Ashley. Okay. So they then get to the whole Twitter situation between Candiace and Robin, which I don't care about. I still think both of them were wrong. Robin says, Candiace did the Variety article, then she went on the Twitter rant, and it just felt like, she was being critical of my situation. But honestly, what we find out is that Robin's not even mad about the Twitter rant. She's mad about Candiace calling Gizelle white adjacent and being accused of plotting on Chris. Like, it's nothing to do with social media. Because when Candiace did the timeline, she said, so we filmed the reunion January the 19th. I saw Robin on, like, I think the thing said January the 22nd or the 20th. She said, I saw Robin still with her reunion hair. And I said long hair or pretty hair, but I think it was long hair. And then Robin's response was like, oh, I bet you I look white adjacent. That's not a white woman adjacent. That's not a good thing. So then that's when Candiace responded with the clip that they keep showing us, the screenshot of her saying, are you mad? Because that was Robin's response to Candiace. And Candiace was like, are you mad at me? So then Candiace went on that one rant that we talked about in Spicy Corner on January the 23rd. Then she said in March, when everything came out around the time of the reunion, and, Candiace watched the reunion, we all found out about the whole wine situation. She reached out to Robin saying, hey, how are you doing? Are you okay? Robin didn't respond to her. So now Candiace is feeling some type of way because you've ignored me twice. So then she went on another rant during the reunion or after the reunion. And so then Candiace was like, yeah, I was pissed. Like, you ignored me 2 times, and then now you having your business behind a paywall. I'm irritated. I'm angry. Now, I think Candiace was justified in her anger, but if she still wanted to be cool with Robin, then there was definitely a different way she could have handled that. She shouldn't have done that. She should have either talked to her therapist and got it all out. But if you wanted to maintain that friendship, then you probably shouldn't have got on the internet. Candiace ends up apologizing to Robin because she was like, my intentions weren't to hurt you. I just got my feelings out, but I'm sorry that I did hurt you. So then Robin said what really got her was the white woman adjacent comment. Robin starts crying. I get irritated because I'm like, girl, because Robin was like, the conversation was so uncomfortable. How do you think people who experience colorism feel, lady? And this is the thing. There's nothing wrong with Robin being uncomfortable having the conversation, but not having the balls enough to like speak about it on the show is loser behavior. You're too old to not be able to have this conversation, in my opinion. And then to try to act like you don't understand when on your podcast, you and Gizelle spoke about it.
Season 1 was about to premiere. I said, we don't have any color on this show. I said, we're too light-skinned. We need some brown-skinned people on the show. And I said, people aren't going to connect with us. People who are, used to watching Atlanta. I said, they're not going to connect with us because they're going to just see a cast full of light-skinned people. So when Monique was casted, I was so happy. I was so happy to see a beautiful brown-skinned woman cast on our show who's living the Potomac life that they wanted to see. I thought she was a fabulous addition to our show. Not just for that reason alone, but I thought that was so important for people to see that, and for them to be able to connect to us.
So you do understand that on a black show, there should be representation of all skin colors. So why couldn't you have the conversation about colorism? And so then Candiace speaks up, and she pretty much is like, I'm someone that's like, in my family, we had conversations about race. We had conversations about the diaspora. I thought everybody else could have these conversations. And that was my bad for not knowing that it would be this uncomfortable. Now, Candiace, I kind of call Cap because I don't know if y'all was having them type of conversations. Sometimes it gives that you just found your blackness. But if you really did have those conversations, then I don't fault her too much for being like, we should talk about this. On top of that, we sidestep what Candiace said. We have been talking about race since season 1 on this show. And that's how I know a lot of y'all who be like, Wendy and Candiace brought race to this show, haven't been watching since season 1. And you want to know why I know y'all haven't been watching since season 1? Because someone online decided to post this picture.
Ancestors to look the way they do. Do you think that means they're not black?
No, I'm really surprised that they're so obsessed with skin color and racial identity.
The two people who are scary that don't want to talk about colorism. But it was on Katie all day.
How black am I feeling? Let me get my black meter out and measure how black I am. That's so dumb. I don't walk around having race on my mind constantly. My family certainly isn't like that. There's no one black person who's married to another black person. It's all mixed up.
Gizelle and Robin, why was it important that Katie defined herself to you?
No. And define my children, which was...
No.
What?
My father was in the civil rights movement. So when we were little, we had the KKK burning sign in our yard on a weekly basis. My father had death threats every day. What they didn't show was that when we were at the baby naming ceremony for Katie, she made reference to the black side like it was demeaning. Like, oh no, I
You're
would never
such
be
a
considered
liar,
black.
Gizelle.
If you're half black, 1/4 black, 2% black, be proud of that.
Are you not proud of it?
I have no idea what she's talking about. And once again, it's like, why would you come to someone's house for a religious naming ceremony, then go outside and go in on them and challenge them about
We didn't go in. We didn't go. We just asked a simple question.
And then for Robin to bring up, okay, well, when your girls are older, what box are they going to check? What the hell
Why
are
is
you
that
talking
offensive?
about?
Katie,
Why would you even bring that up?
Katie, you know that you said something wrong.
So this is my thing. Race has always been a top of a conversation on this show. So acting like we can't have this conversation is irritating. And I'm not going to give that much sympathy and grace to somebody that benefits from colorism because they're crying about having an uncomfortable conversation. What about the people who experience colorism? And my thing about it is, Gizelle saying she an AKA and her daddy did all that. Baby, that did not help. My family, I have a lot of family members who are a part of the Divine Nine. And we've had kitchen table talk. People have told me since I was young, the way it was set up. We even learned that in African American experience, if you've been to an HBCU or you graduated from one, if you just was there, we talked about how the Divine Nine played into colorisms. The AKA was for light-skinned girls. What's it called? The Deltas was for the dark skins. The ugly girls was for the Zetas. And didn't nobody get about Sigma Gamma Rho. Like, that was the others. So we're not going to play these games. They do it for the men as well. The Kappas was for the pretty light-skinned boys. And then Alphas is for the dark skins, Omega's just everybody just nasty, Then we're not gonna play these games. Like if you're gonna use that as a flex, then you should have explained and thought out the history of the organization that you represent. Not saying that it's the same it's the same now. No, because I've been on my campus. It's everybody interwoven. Okay, it's every color, every hue, every whatever in all of these fraternities and sororities. But that was not the flex, and I don't get why Gizelle used that. I don't get why. Because girl, it wasn't a flex. It just wasn't. I'm glad Wendy got into her political commentator bag, because when she pretty much says we don't have the range to have this conversation, because no one's addressing, you're crying because you don't like the fact that you're being called a colorist. Well, have you sat back and thought about, well, why are they calling me a colorist? What have I exhibit for this person to deem me that way? No, you haven't, because you're uncomfortable. And then when Karen was like, I think we're the best cast to have this conversation. No, you're not, Karen, because we still haven't tapped up on you talking about Wendy doesn't fit the look of Potomac when, lady, there is such a huge African population in the DMV area that statement don't make not a lick of sense, Karen. But because people like you and because you didn't want to get strapped with that label, you decided I'm going to slide myself over to the brown skin, dark skin people. So they know, so I look good. So Karen, chill, okay? Be quiet. And I'm glad Wendy clipped you at the knees because, ma'am, hush, because y'all don't have the range. And then all the people online talking about, well, Wendy doesn't have the range either because her mom bleaches. That is the range. Why do you think her mom needs to do that? Why do you think her mom feels the need to do that? That in of itself explains colorism. That at her old age, she still feels the need to do that. That in her society, they're still treating light-skinned people better than brown-skinned people and dark-skinned people. And as someone who has experienced it, I wouldn't consider myself dark-skinned. If someone called me that, I wouldn't be offended. But I have experienced it. I've had several internships where they don't even speak to me when they see a light-skinned, thin chick in the room. But they want to talk to me when it's like we know like that's the part that's pissing me off. That's the part that's pissing me off because it's like, had y'all been able to have this conversation and really be vulnerable and speak about it, this wouldn't even be a topic of conversation. But being afraid to have the conversation, it makes us seem like you're playing into it because now all of a sudden we're supposed to feel bad for you, and no one feels bad for you, Robin. If you on your podcast could understand that we needed brown-skinned people and more representation, then you can understand the colorism. And that side comment that you had with NECA, because NECA was like, well, explain why they think you feel that way. I got to give credit for NECA because that lawyer hat was coming on because she was like, well, like what examples? And then all Robin can say, when we have arguments with them, is colorism. No, that's not colorism. The way we know y'all are going to fight, Robin, we know y'all are going to beef. It's the way you don't forgive the dark skin or brown skin people on the show and you hold them to a higher standard when the girl at the end of the couch on the other side of the stage from you told everybody that you and your husband were poor, destitute, and broke, that he was downtown banging on some other chick, but you forgive her. You're cool with her. You can sit on the same couch with Karen, and Karen be telling you you's a dumbass every 10 to 12 minutes. But you okay, but you can't forgive Wendy or Candiace. You are beefing with Candiace because you don't like the fact that she called Gizelle white adjacent. The same way you took up on Giselle's beef with Wendy, now you got a problem with Wendy. That's the issue, Robin. That's the issue. It's the way you don't forgive and you don't move past things with the dark-skinned women. The same way Gizelle doesn't do the same. That in and of itself is colorism because everybody else on that couch has done you dirty. Has done you dirty. What are you talking about? Karen told Gizelle, girl, you're a whore from Hampton and you're broken by that dirty husband you married. But Candiace told Gizelle, you have a $900 down, tear down, and Gizelle is in her feelings and I need an apology. Karen ain't never really given Gizelle an apology, but they holding hands and kumbayaing about dead parents. But we're like, that's the part. Like, had y'all really had the conversation at last year's reunion, this wouldn't be a topic of conversation. Yes, it's a conversation about colorism uncomfortable. Yes, it's uncomfortable for everybody involved. But just because you benefit from a system does not make you inherently bad. What makes it bad is the fact that you can't acknowledge it or you're abusing it. You don't want to acknowledge it. Acknowledge it so you can do the work to help deconstruct it and dismantle it. So before I went on my rant about colorism, we end up seeing that like Candiace and Robin pretty much said this friendship is over. Candiace ends up telling Robin, if you are that hurt about what I did, pretty much after 8 years of being on this show and you've had far worse done to you, then we can move on. And then Robin's like, what? And I was like, yeah, girl. But I do have to give credit to NECA. It seems like NECA is taking it seriously about moving the group forward because she was like, well, can you give Candiace that? Because she did apologize to you. And Robin's like, she still thinks I plotted on her husband. Okay. But she apologized for the other thing. And so we then see they get off the stage and they all go meet with their husbands. I didn't see this on the episode, but some people watched the extended version on Peacock, and there was a clip going around of Gizelle where she was like, I strategically supported her talking about the Monique situation, and she was like, she can get out of here to Candiace, and then Candiace was like, I'm out. So I feel like when Candiace says I'm out, that was her saying, yeah, I quit. That was her way of saying, yeah, I quit. Like, I'm done with this. I quit. So, girl, NECA don't like Ike. NECA does not like Ike. Ike was trying to encourage her because NECA was feeling like anxious and nervous about not being able to speak because she was like, I've been told that I wasn't supposed to say anything online. I was supposed to get all my feelings out on at the reunion, and Mia was like, yeah, you just speak up a little bit more. And then Ike was like, yeah, just speak up, and if they try to talk over you, I'll jump in it, and like, because that you something like that to the effect of like, I'll jump in it on your behalf or try to like shut it down. And then NECA ends up saying, you need to be supportive, or you can go wherever Juan Dixon was. I said, whoa, girl. I was like, I think he was trying to be supportive. Like, I don't know. But supposedly, there's like this story going around about NECA and Ike's relationship. And this is heavily on the alleged, like heavily on the alleged. But some of the girlies that live in the DMV are saying that Ike and NECA didn't even, like, they got married for the show. Allegedly, that they weren't married before they got married for the purposes to be on the show, that they weren't even living in the same houses, like that same house. And I was like, I can kind of believe it if it is true, because she does not seem like she enjoys his company. Like, she be so irritated by that man, like so irritated. So the men get on the stage. We find out that Eddie's Happy Eddie company is doing well. They got $2 million, I think, like in the span of a couple of months. They talk about Mia being a side chick turned wife. Really didn't care. Mia is very loving hip hop, but we see you, girl. We see you. Then they get on Chris not being around, and Andy's like, and Chris responds to Andy's question about not being around. He's like, if I'm not wanted, then I'm not gonna be around, pretty much. And then Andy's like, well, does Candiace not want you around? And then Candiace was like, no, I want him around, but if he feels like he's being pushed out or like people are relying on him, why would he be around if they don't want him to be around? So I don't think it was wrong for Chris not to be around, because I was like, I'm not being around people who are trying to spread this narrative that I'm like a threat to them. Like, I don't need to be around. And so then they asked about the whole Robin plot. Like, do you believe Robin plotted on you? And Chris was like, I ain't talked about this in like 2 years after I did them 3 interviews. I don't want to talk about it now. I'm like legit over this shit. Like, I don't care anymore. And I don't fault him for that. Like, he knows they're not going to get anywhere because production is playing games and they're not trying to hold nobody accountable. So then they talk about the allegations, and I did the drama about it. It was easy to tell that lady was lying, because she said that she was coming out because she didn't like the way Candiace treated Ashley. And then the whole thing about like having to get like, and like go to the clinic to get rid of the baby, the paperwork that she had, legit, y'all, was like, you could put that in the, like, someone actually, like, I did what's that thing where you can put a Google image in the search bar. That paper came up to a clinic, I think in like Ohio or one of those Midwestern states that has one of the most strictest abortion laws, where you can't even really virtually get one. So I was like, okay, she lying about that. And then the voice notes were like, it looked like the same conversation over and over, and they were only like 3 to 4 seconds long. No one's having a voice note conversation like that. Voice notes are at least like a minute to like between like 45 seconds to a minute, or if not longer. Like you're talking like you're on the phone. So I was like, yeah, she lying. So then Robin gonna pipe up talking about those screenshots of your what, where they how she gets screenshots of your stuff. And then Chris is like, I never met her. Well, she said she did meet you, and then she retracted. I said, Robin, out of all people on this stage, you should not even be opening your mouth to question this man about cheating allegations. Okay, I'm not saying Chris is a saint, but we know the man that can't support you or show up for you is not one either. Like, girl, hush. Like, and I'm so surprised Candiace didn't. The way I would have cussed her out, because I'm not even the girl that's like, my man, but I've been like, don't speak to my man. Do not speak to my man. Look at Gizelle. Look at Gizelle or look at NECA, but don't speak to him. Look past him, okay? You don't say not a word to him. It's gonna question my man, and your man can't even show up and support you. Girl, go on somewhere. You be the last one to ask me about mines. The last one to ask me about what's going on in my household, where you can't even be real about what's going on between the sheets, whatever you say that's saying. Like, you can't even be honest with yourself that the man that you with don't even like you like that, Robin. So shut up. So then they ask about Candiace, do you think anybody put the lady up to it? She says maybe Gizelle, because where they got in their relationship, she don't really even trust that lady. And Giselle's like, no. And I was like, I didn't really care. So then they get on about feelings, because Gizelle started getting her feelings about, she was like, well, I didn't do it. And then Chris is like, well, Candiace says she feels. Just like everybody else is entitled to their feelings, like you are entitled to how you feel, she's entitled to how she feels. So then they go on to about like words. because Chris is like, it's funny how y'all like to police Candiace using her words and her vernacular, but somebody can virtually lie on someone else and then they clean it up by saying it's not, like, I didn't mean it that way. And we all say, okay, when we move past it. But we can move on to the next question. I said, clock it, Chris. Clock it, Chris, because that's what it is. So then Andy asked about Juan. How did the husbands feel about Juan not being there? They don't care. They know that man don't like that lady. And they just like, it is what it is. Like, if he don't want to be here, he don't want to be here. That's his choice. So then we end with G. And G was like, I came here to support my wife, my ex-wife. And they're like, y'all aren't that's his ex-wife, y'all. And he said, I'm here to support Mia. I'm excited to get the truth out, but I want to share with you guys something. And then both G and Mia get emotional. So I guess next episode, we are going to get the tea about that. Yeah, y'all, that is it. That is all. Remember to be bravely authentic and definitely hop down in them comments below and give me your thoughts on this part 2 of the reunion. We can have a discussion about colorism, but don't get in my comments acting stupid because you will get blocked. Just, be respectful. All right. Okay. Have a nice day, nice night, whenever you see this. And I'm out, y'all. Deuces.